Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Just getting everything logged in. Hello, hello. Good to see everybody tonight. We're just getting everything set up and we'll be ready to roll here. Instagram is catching up. There you go. Sweet. Hello, hello. Good to see you. I'm writing your book. You're writing a book. That's cool. Go. Trying to get this set up right. It's like a little off tonight. Hello, hello. Good to see you all. So we're just jumping on here, getting ready to rock and roll here in a couple minutes. Trying to get these set up. They're like set up different. I don't like it. There you go. I think that's what I did last time. There you go. And there you go. Much better. Now I can actually see the comments. Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. In Jacksonville, Arkansas. Said that because you pinned. Look, you forgot to. Oh, I forgot that I pinned that. Oh gosh, yeah. No, I'm actually starting to work on one. So I was going to be able to have talked about it, asked about it, course or book, kind of get like an idea, be able to see. But yeah, super excited. Hello, hello. We're starting up here, getting ready to rock and roll. We got questions about narcissism. We've got questions about my story. We've got questions about stuff that's going. It's all about narcissism on this channel, about healing, growth, and change. So good to see you guys coming in from all over the country. Super glad to be able to see you. So we do have some courses that are already out, and they're all on Housed ARC app currently. So if you haven't had a chance to be able to check that out, so just type in NARC into Apple or Google Play. You can kind of pull that up. So yeah, there is a spectrum of narcissism. It's almost like the idea of like you have people with like traits or tendencies all the way up to people who are like diagnosed like narcissists. Then you have people farther than that you can say, then you're looking into like sociopath and then psychopath. So there's a lot of different aspects of it in one sense. How long will narcs stay while also hating you, and why? A narc will stay as long as they can, as long as it's comfortable for them. If it's comfortable, why leave? You know, for a narcissist, they're the creator of the chaos and they're content with that. So if they're creating the chaos and they're able to, you know, bum off of you, they're going to stay. So, can't hear me? Instagram, I don't know why you can't hear me. I can hear me. Awesome. My ex-wife finally given up on seeing our daughter, but wants me to visit my stepdaughter. That's weird. I'm not sure what's going on there. Wow, this is what I needed. Just went through domestic violence from a narc. Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope you're out. Hope you're free from that. Is the smear campaign inevitable? No, not always. It's not always inevitable. A lot of times it does happen. But yeah, it's not always inevitable. Instagram, Facebook, I don't know why. It looks like the internet connection is struggling over there. Can you guys hear me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube? For some reason it is really smooth over there. Trying to get this all set up. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Are you ever really happy? I think happiness is a lot different than what I was used to. So happiness back then was like what I got from people. Now it's how much am I actually engaged in the moment? How am I actually being intentional? Where am I actually finding the gratitude and the joy? Any input about narcissism and human trafficking? I don't have a correct a correlation per se. My narc acting so nice now that I'm divorcing him. Yeah, and be able to change the aspect to be able to play the game. Do they plan or know what they're doing? Oftentimes they know what they're doing. A lot of times they don't know exactly how they're doing it or like what to stop in one sense. So they're not getting to the place of actually saying like, "Hey, like I'm going to be honest with what's going on." That's typically was kind of going through some of that messed up head. I'm reading Psychopath Free. Psychopath Free is a great book. Would highly recommend it to a lot of people. So it's definitely a good book. She just back out. It's a pattern of his, and I expect it soon. So you should make sure that there's not a way for them to reach out. So block, go, no contact. That's really therapy has been huge as far as like getting me more in touch with like emotions, like helping like reparent different aspects of me, like diving into like past abuse, past trauma, like trying to figure out like what's actually going back there. Therapy has definitely been huge. Hello, hello, YouTube, Facebook, can y'all hear me okay? It seems like the connection's struggling over there. I don't know what's going on there. The guy I was dealing with keeps leaving, and he says hurtful things to me, but claims he loves me. He will contact again, even though he keeps leaving. When I'm done with him, he will cry. I really loved him. So he's just gonna keep doing it. It's just gonna be a cycle. He's gonna keep constantly doing. Okay. Let me know if there's like a lag. Facebook, it seems to be like down. I don't know what's going on. Just started reading Psychopath Free. Yeah, no, it's huge. Psychopath Free is a really good book to be able to look at that. Any goodbye is going to be an excuse thing. Like, let me figure out how to keep you just a little bit longer. Max says he don't know why he acts this way. Okay, but then what is he doing to work on it? What is he doing to figure it out? What's he doing to help with that? It's not a good connection. There's lag. Yeah. Don't have anything else open. Shut this one down. We were broken up, but why do I still feel like I want to marry them one day? Yeah. So the reason why you feel like that is typically the idea of a trauma bond. Is the idea of like you want to go back to a person. You know it's toxic. You know that it's not a healthy relationship, but you still want to go back because that emotional connection. And that leads to the story that you're telling yourself. And the story that you're telling yourself is oftentimes fantasy. It's built on hope or potential or the idea that this person is going to change, going to be different, or it's based on cognitive dissonance. And you get confused because you're like, wait a second, like they said all this to me, but they acted like this. You're like, I'll just go with what they said. They said they love me, even though they abused me. It keeps you in this like loop. You have to be really careful. The trauma bond is like really tough to break. And just knowing that you have it isn't good enough to be able to actually like break it. It takes a lot of time to be able to like work through it and actually break it out. Hey, good to see you guys. If you guys haven't heard, we did a couple different times, but we do have coming up on July 23rd. We're super excited. We're going to be in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina at Honeysuckle at Lakeside from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's going to be 5 of us now. There's 5 creators that are going to be there talking about narcissism, interacting. It's a giant meet and greet just to be able to meet everybody, be able to say hi. We got people traveling from all over the country, and we're super excited. We've got myself that'll be there. Then we have Lee, mental illness. Then we have Bree, abuse is abuse. We've got Dr. Carrie McAvoy, and then we've got Lisa Sunny, who runs Stronger Than Before. So the last 2, they're flying in from Texas and also from Canada, just to be able to do the meet and greet, to be able to meet with everybody that comes, be able to see some of us, because none of us have seen each other in person except for like me and Lee. We're super excited about that. So if you're able to, or if you're in the area, July 23rd is when we're coming to the area of Durham, North Carolina. We're super excited about that. All right, what do we got? How do you discern between someone who is genuine and love bombing when first dating? So it's not easy to be able to figure out if you're just looking at love bombing, but if you're looking at the other traits, you can start to get an idea of like what are the other traits that are actually associated with this relationship. Like how are they envious? How are they with empathy? How are they with boundaries? Like what are they actually doing when you say no? How are they reacting? So like if you only look at love bombing, it's going to be almost impossible to be able to like see like what's going on. You want to be able to look at more of it than just love bombing. Like love bombing is like one out of like a bunch of different like red flags that can pop up to give like an idea. Okay. How do I set safe boundaries without triggering? So there's going to be an aspect that you're going to trigger the narcissist anytime you set a boundary, because for a narcissist, setting a boundary is putting them in prison. That's why healthy relationship boundaries are actually protection. But for a narcissist, setting a boundary is you're limiting them. The thing is, when you set a boundary, you have to be able to understand, like, I have to set this for my own health, for my own safety, for my own worth. Okay. There's not always a consistent way to be able to do it without triggering. Okay. He said I make it hard for him because he blocked on my cell phone, though. He called my house number. Why? So I mean, a lot of it's just like a Hoover part. Oh, and he told me he hated me before and he looks disgusted, but he won't leave me alone. Yeah, so he's just gonna keep coming back. Like, keep that blocked, keep him so he can't come back, keep him ghosted, because he's just gonna keep trying to come back. Facebook, YouTube, I'm sorry. We've got it the best we can, but for some reason it's struggling over there. I don't know why. Come to Cali, please. So we're going to be coming sometime. Not sure when. The next meet and greet is actually on the books. We don't have it set up just yet, but it is on the books. It's going to be in Texas. So for any of y'all that are Midwest or Texas, we're coming to Texas in October. Officially, it's going to be October 15th. So just FYI. How do I co-parent when you know he doesn't really care about the child's best intentions? He keeps claiming I keep him from his kid, but his kid isn't exactly safe with him. Yeah, so he's going to claim anything he can to be able to get what he wants. Ignore whatever he's claiming. Just focus on the actions and the behaviors. When you're thinking about co-parenting, start looking up parallel parenting. That's one of the best ways to be able to deal with a narcissist in the aspect, and also using the BIF method if you're not broken up, if you're not divorced at that point, and legally, like, everything's like locked up. Once everything's like legally done, then I would say go gray rock, go like ghost, no contact, use third party, all that kind of stuff. Is there such a thing as a narc that doesn't hoover? Yeah, absolutely. So there's narcs that hoover, there's narcs that reverse hoover, and there's narcs that like don't really care at all. They just move on to the next person, and that messes up a lot of people, because then a lot of people are like, wait a second, my narc didn't hoover, maybe I wasn't good enough. Well, the fact of the matter is that doesn't even compute to the narcissist, because it's never about you. It's about the narcissist. It's what they want, is what they're looking after, and it's not about you. Thank you all so much. I see a bunch of people like sharing and liking. I appreciate it. Just like help people understand like what's going on when we talk about narcissism. Did you ever have a supply that you never went back? Or when he is around all the time, I've allowed he shows no interest in the child. Yeah. No, they're not going to show interest unless it's going to help prop up like the story that they're putting to themselves. For me, I find it's easier to keep him at low contact instead of no contact. This way he doesn't show up at my house hoping he will just, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to. I mean, it's not a ideal long-term strategy, but sometimes it is a strategy to be able to get you where you need to go. Okay. Reverse hoover is typically when the narcissist kind of sits back and waits for you to come back, because that's been the pattern that you've already set. So like, I'll just ghost them and wait for them to come crawling back. Would you agree people with NPD are mentally not okay, just as bipolar, schizophrenia, or any other? I wouldn't loop them into the bipolar, because it is a personality, but it's not necessarily like mentally okay, as far as like there's a lot of stuff that they have to work on, and there's a lot of like interpersonal demons they got to work on. Discarded, now divorced. He made me believe he wanted me back to sleep with me just to say never mind. Yeah, discarded, now divorced. So it's the same thing. That will fight to get back with you, because then they're not the ones getting rejected. If they're silent now and been hoovering for years, are they done? I'm testifying soon. Hopefully, but you never know. I was still trying to keep it as blocked and cut off as much as possible. Mine hoovering that said, I don't want to give you hope. Started gray rock. It's hard as a co-parent. Yeah. Very much so. So when you're co-parenting, look up parallel parenting. Parallel parenting is one of the best ways to be able to do it. It's not exactly like co-parenting. It's a little bit different. I don't have all the details on it, but I do know that that's typically what we recommend, suggest, is parallel parenting. And also, if you haven't gone through the legal matters and everything's like separated, then practice the BIF method instead of gray rocking. A lot of times people see that actually is a lot easier and a lot better going into the court system. Now I know what a narcissism is. I realize I perpetuated these types of relationships my whole life. At work, at home, at play, I'm triggered and see this type of behavior everywhere now. Yeah, narcissism is like that. Like once you see it, you see it. Like once you actually understand what it is and you see it, like you see it like everywhere. It's crazy. It's crazy a lot of times when you see it. Um, why do narc victims have a loss of identity after a relationship with a narc? So typically what's happening is you have a loss of identity after you've been with a narc because the narc is doing their best to actually be able to take that identity from you. And typically that's by manufacturing a bunch of trauma, manufacturing a bunch of emotions, and putting you through a bunch of stuff that they end up taking as much of your personality as possible to look more human for the next person, to look more better for the mask that they're putting out there. Do they have real friendships? So the friendships that narcissists have, or the posses that they have, are only like so deep, and it doesn't really go into like truth or like vulnerability. A lot of times the other friendships are very like narcissistic, enabling, flying monkeys, that kind of a thing. Could they avoid hoovering if they know you're onto their BS? Yes, that is possible, and sometimes the higher probability. Hey, good to see you. Can't get over my ex narc treating the new girl better. It drives me nuts. So the fact is, they're not going to treat them better. They're going to get them better manipulation. They're going to get them better masks, and they're going to give them better love bombing, like all that kind of stuff. Because a lot of times they'll learn. A narcissist a lot of times will learn from one relationship to the next, and they'll take bits and pieces from one relationship, try to piece it together. It's almost like a Frankenstein like emotion, like idea going into the next relationship of like, hey, this is actually who I am, when it's not. It's just figments of different people like along the way. But a lot of times people think like, oh, they're treating the next person like so much better. No, they're not. Like they're gonna change the story. The reason why a lot of times you think that they're treating the next person better is because they're working on a new mask. A mask isn't sat back and thought about like, how should I develop my mask today? No, like a mask is a lot of times developed like on the fly. Oh, you like this? I like this. Oh, you like that? I like that. Like it's awesome. Like those masks a lot of times are built like in the moment of figuring out what you like, what you're looking for, and then they build the perfect person. And so when they're going to the next person, you're gonna be like, wow, they look perfect for that person. Well, yeah, that's because that's what the mask is supposed to do. They wouldn't be a good narcissist if they actually weren't doing a good mask for the next person. It's like that's the thing you have to think of. It's like when you're looking at it, you're looking at it from the outside, saying, like, wow, like they're love bombing really good. Because that's what they're doing. You're signing up for the production. Plus, they're telling you how much better they are with someone new, meaning you were the problem. So that's why number one, you go no contact. That's why number two, you ghost and make sure there's no way that you can see that information, because you shouldn't be in contact with them when they're with a new supply. It's all about triangulation at that point and making you feel awful, like it was all your fault when it had nothing to do with you. Why they continuously bring up past scenarios that have been discussed at length. They won't bring up past scenarios about themselves, but they'll bring up past scenarios about you, because that's what the leverage is. If I have one thing on you, then that can be brought up in every argument that I have with you to be able to devalue your argument, to be able to say, well, yeah, but you know, you really don't have a leg to stand on because you looked at someone cried like 6 years ago. Like you made that sandwich wrong just to try to like kill me. Like you did like they'll do anything to be able to take down your argument. Like we see this in the relationships, we see this in the work, we see this in social media. Like you find someone that puts up like a really good post sometimes, and all these people come out of the woodwork like attacking it. Like you're doing this. Like one of the recent ones we had was by Lindsay. So if you follow on all the platforms, if you follow the Lindsay Goodman, she just did like a really quick video the other day. It actually hit like I think it was like 5 million probably by now. Like it's crazy. Like it blew up. And like the amount of people that came out of the woodwork that was like, you're stigmatizing narcissists, you're demonizing, like narcissists aren't abusive, like all this kind of stuff. Like they come out of everywhere. And like the idea is like, if I can get you to react, and if I can get you to break down one tiny bit of your argument, the argument is thrown out the window. Happen like when you call the art, when you fluid cannot talk, boom, let's go. All right, when you call the narcissist out, and they're like, well, yeah, but that actually didn't happen on Tuesday, that happened on Wednesday. So like it doesn't even matter what you're saying. Like they'll literally blow away like the whole entire argument. Well, yeah, no, I didn't cheat on you, 5 years ago. It was actually 2 years ago. So like, you actually don't know what you're talking about. Like literally, the idea in the narcissist mind is, if I can take one tiny piece of your argument that's not 100% correct and then blow it up, then your argument no longer stands. Narcissists can fight really dirty, because if they have that capacity, if that's what they're kind of like fighting as, they'll find that one tiny piece to pull it out, and in their mind, like pulling that one tiny plug breaks the entire dam of like, you no longer have anything to stand on. Do I have a healing group? So I have a group that's called the NARC app. So you can go onto Google Play or Apple Store, download the NARC app. NARC stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. There's over 4,000 people that have downloaded it, logged in. We've got a great group of people there that are trying to help other people heal, grow, and change. We just finished monthly coaching that happened this past Monday. It was like really awesome. You get to come on Zoom call with other survivors, with other people that have grown, and with other people that are starting that way or like farther down the road. Be able to get advice inside the app. Be able to track your no contact, record your truth, take courses on narcissism. I'm working on one coming up here this next week, where it's actually going to be like some like tests and stuff that can actually be in the app. So you can be like, hey, like, how narcissistic am I? It's not diagnosing before anybody freaks out, but like, how narcissistic am I? Or like, am I with a narcissist? And like, the one that I want to do too is like, what kind of narcissism I'm with? Like, that's the one that I want to be able to put in the app, because I think that's going to be pretty cool. So it's called the NARC app. You can actually go to my website, rawmotivations.com. You can log into it through the web. You can also just download it from Apple or Google Play. But it's got some really awesome stuff. So we're really excited. What do we got? What are your thoughts on victims going through a spiritual awakening after their abuse? I think that's awesome, and more people should do that. Are narcs smart because all I see is the crazy immature tantrums? Yeah. So a lot of times you'll see that, and a lot of times too, you'll also have people that view their narcissist being smarter than, like, oh my gosh, this was like so smart. Like, I think there's some out there that are, but I think there's a lot too that are really dumb, like that are really bad at lying, that are really bad in a lot of different areas, and they just kind of like, oh, this is who I am. But yeah, it's all over the place. Yeah, just type in NARC, NARC. Why does supply girl text my phone about him asking if he likes? You might be getting an idea like, hey, something's not matching up. A lot of times you'll find people that connect and they're like, oh, we're dealing with the same exact abuse. Yeah, it happens a lot. Hey, can you explain why narcissists hate themselves and the self-loathing? So that goes back to guilt and shame. Narcissists are immature and they have not had that maturity, that's happened emotionally. So they get to a place where they view guilt and they view shame almost like interchangeably, but they run to shame. When you think of it, narcissism is the raging river underneath is the aspect of shame. So it's looking at something that's like, I just did something bad. No, I am bad. Okay. So like, what's going underneath that aspect is a giant aspect of shame, and that compels the self-loathing. That's that aspect there. My mom is a narcissist and I'm having a child soon. Do you have any advice? You're going to have to set boundaries with your mom, follow STAND coaching, and also abuse is abuse. And those two have parents that are narcissists. So check them out because they got some really awesome content. But yeah, when you have kids, a video I think just came out on YouTube just the other day that was like how to keep your kids from being like codependent and like stuff like that, like how to like help them avoid getting with a narcissist, but like really like creating a safe place for your kids is really huge and really essential. Yeah, no, I do have one-on-ones, so I meet with people on like a day-to-day basis. So if you go to my website, rawmotivations.com, you can actually see some stuff there, read some testimonials, and schedule there. What causes someone to become narcissistic? Does it go back to the childhood? Yes. So either trauma, abuse, overbearing parents, over-enabling parents. Sometimes it goes even farther than that. Some crazy childhood has been done, like inner child, trying to figure out like how far back it goes. Sometimes it can go like pretty far back. It's pretty crazy. Should I tell this new girl what she's in for? Not if she's the one that like cheated on you with him. Then good. If it's someone that you like know, yeah, that's the tough one. A lot of times people say like, no, don't contact them at all. What I normally say is like, if you're outside the relationship, like if it wasn't like your relationship and then now he's moved on to someone else, like if you're seeing it all from the outside, then I would say like, let this getting cheated on. Like, let them know, But otherwise, like if it's in like your relationship, they're gonna have to figure out the hard way, because a lot of times the narcissist has already prepped them to know, hey, don't pay attention to this because this is my crazy ex is going to be coming. They're probably going to make up a bunch of lies, all this kind of stuff. If a narc really doesn't want to be here, why can't they just leave, especially if that are actively talking and recruiting a new supply? So until a new supply is locked in, and you know that you've got a new supply, there's no reason to jump ship. Even if the ship is like sinking, it's fine because it's still my ship. Like even if the chaos is awful, it's fine because it's still my chaos. So that's why the narcissist a lot of times still stays. A lot of times, I'm still close to his family. He hates it. He has told me he wants to replace me ASAP to stop them. Whew, that's crazy. My ex bought me 5 birthday gifts, 4 of which were self-serving from him and didn't feel thoughtful. Narcissists are typically either the worst ever at giving gifts, or they want to be the best ever so it looks like the greatest. Can you talk about a narc dating his ex's friend? His ex rejected him. I think it hurt his ego. My first thought is I want to say BPD, because I've seen a lot of BPD do that. But really, like a lot of that could be like retaliation, like trying to get back at the person. My narcissist was raised by a male narcissist. He is, however, smart enough to know better and was in therapy at one time. Said he chose to leave because he did not like what was going on. That's good. My narc always smirked at me. It made me extremely uncomfortable. He always started fights at night, so I couldn't sleep. He enjoyed it. It was sick. Sounds even a little bit like sociopathic on that side. Can children be diagnosed at a young age to where they can get help before they get older? No, they can't be diagnosed at a young age, but you can start notice traits and like work on helping them have a safe environment to emotionally mature correctly. I got a question. Why his mom acting bougie said y'all won't last long. His grandmother snitch on him. Yeah, I don't even know where we're going with that. So sorry. If a narc is rejected by new supply during the separation, do they have meltdowns? Yeah, we could go with that. And also, they'll probably like try to come back. You never know. Carolyn, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Absolutely. I'm glad that it is helping. I'm glad the video is helping. So we're trying to drop like nuggets of truth every single day on all the platforms. Like right now we're live on 5 platforms. Like we're trying to drop nuggets of truth every single day. So right now it's like 5 videos a day of like just like the single like quick ones. YouTube has the longest amount of videos. If you guys aren't following me on YouTube, please go to YouTube, look up Raw Motivations, and just follow me over there, because we are trying to build that platform there of other survivors too, but also longer videos so that people understand more about it. You see me go in depth and even almost like a teaching style where I go through different books, Psychopath Free, The Narcissist in Your Life, like a couple different things like that, and dive deep into what's actually going on. So go to YouTube and check out Raw Motivations there. We drop 2 videos a day that are typically about 10 to 12 minutes long each day. Right now it drops at 11 a.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Eastern time. So give you kind of an idea. If you go to Raw Motivations, sign up, but then also like hit like the notifications. That way you see it pop up. It helps out a lot. I was asked by a narc, he loves me and wants to marry me, all while having a girlfriend who lives with him, is buying a house with him, and is having a baby with him. What the hell? No. Yeah, no, that's good, because a lot of times they do that. They try to play both sides. They try to be like, no, I just love you. Like they're trying to lock you in, but at the same time, like they're out like cheating on you. It's crazy. Subscribe to watch the video today. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, better question. What's the difference from a sociopath, narcissist, toxic person? So toxic's toxic no matter what. Narcissist, like think of it as like a sliding scale. Narcissist, you have like people with like traits, tendencies, diagnosed, and you have like sociopath and you have psychopath. Some of the differences in one sense is sociopath, you get a little bit more intentional and a little bit more happy that someone else has pain, happy that they're inflicting pain in the other person. Have you thought about recording your podcast / YouTube video simultaneously? Brittany, I know you listen to all my podcasts. All you're doing is listen to the audio off the YouTube. That's all it is. So I don't have time to record everything because I got one-on-ones and everything else. So everything gets recorded on YouTube and then piped over to the podcast. So what you hear on podcasts is the video version of what's on YouTube. Gotcha. But yeah, that's how we do it to be able to keep our sanity, trying to keep everything going. Don't you think that some people throw around narcissists too much? Aren't some people just assholes or toxic? Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of people that, throw around like, oh, I was with a narcissist, like narcissist, narcissist that. Yeah, it gets thrown around a lot. Okay. And there's probably aspects that gets thrown around too much. However, there's also a big aspect. There's a lot more narcissists out there than what people want to admit and want to acknowledge. At the end of the day, when we're struggling with the concept, when we're struggling with the word narcissist, take the word narcissist and throw it out. Who cares? At the end of the day, abuse is abuse. And if you're in a relationship where the ego is so high, they don't have time to engage with your feelings, they're not respecting, they're not loving, they're not demonstrating care, faithfulness, honesty, then what's the point? Whether they're a sociopath, a toxic person, a narcissist, an asshole, it doesn't really matter. Start looking at, hey, what are the boundaries that I'm setting? Because boundaries are meant for you. They're not for the narcissist. They're not for anyone else. A boundary is meant for you. And at that point, you have to be able to say, like, hey, no, this is the level. Like, this is the level I'm going to. I'm not going any farther than that. Carolyn, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Listen to these videos while I'm working to help give me strength. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know there's I don't know if Vicky's still in here. Like she grabs like the playlist and she'll like put them on like before she goes to sleep. She's like, maybe I can learn this like while I'm asleep so I can stay away from them. No, I completely get it. X admitted to having 2 of the 9 traits, but I see all 9. Can they be oblivious or just denial and lies? So it's denial and lies because they don't want to admit it. So I'll give you a perfect example. One time I was meeting with a husband and a wife. He was the narcissist. She wasn't. She was getting gaslight in the Zoom call. It was like freaking crazy. But he like came at me a couple times, and like one of the times he came at me, he's like, well, fine, like tell me what are the traits, like what are the traits, like what are the 9 traits? And I was like, no, I was like, do your own homework. And I was like, because I'm not going to sit here and read off all 9 traits. So you can identify with 1 or 2, tell me you have tendencies of maybe another one, and say the rest don't match, because they'll come out and completely deny it so that they don't have to be accountable. Narcissists don't want to be accountable. That's why they run away from accountability. That's why they let accountability run you over. Like they'll do anything they can to be able to get out of that accountability. That accountability triggers guilt, triggers shame. Then we go to blame. Then we go to rage. Then we complete the whole cycle time and time again. We change your reality and go back. That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I do have some stuff on my website that's actually for like one-on-one. So if you go to rawmotivations.com, there's actually some testimonials on there. It gives you a little bit of idea. If you click on some of the one-on-ones, there's coaching packages that give you an overview of what I work with. Kind of like in a nutshell, one of the main things that I work with is trauma bond, trying to help you break free from that toxic mentality of like, I know this is crazy, but I still have the feelings, I still want to go back. Try to help get you through limbo land, which is the idea of like detoxing from an addictive relationship. And then also help you set up the future of like, what are the boundaries that I need to set so that I don't go back to a narcissist and don't get involved with a narcissist down the road. Why do they let parents be so involved in the relationship with their spouse? So it could be enabling of parents. It could be narcissistic parents as well. Is it possible that they don't know what they're doing, or is it always intentional? So a lot of times with narcissism, you have it where they know what they're doing to the degree that they're not doing it to everyone. So you'll see like, hey, like I'm acting this way to you, but I'm not acting this way to my friends, to my family, to my boss. So there's an aspect of it is intentional. One of the best ways to do it, let's talk about with like lying. Okay. So like, is lying habitual or is it always like intentional? I think it's 50-50. From what I've experienced, is you get to a place that becomes a defense mechanism and you've done it for so long, someone comes up and like, hey, this is what just happened. Boom, lie. And then I'm like, oh crap, now I've lied. Now I have to figure out what do I need to do to get out of it. Now it's intentional. Let me fabricate the story. Let me love bomb. Let me gaslight. Okay, this happened. And then they bring up something else. Boom, lie. And then, okay, now how do I, so I like with lying, especially like, that's how I kind of like communicate that in one sense. It's like the idea of going back and forth of like habitual like reactionary response and also intentionality of let me do this for the purpose of being able to get away from the accountability and the responsibility. Okay. Do their families know they're narcissists? If they're enabling or narcissistic families, they don't care. A lot of times you do have people that they see it and they're like, crap, like we do see this, like this is something that like we feel bad. Like I talked to a mom today that she's got a narcissistic daughter, and so she's like struggling with that thought process of like, wait a second, like I know where this comes from, like what did I do to like screw them up, and trying to figure that out. It's tough. I mean, it's a lot because another part too is like you have parents sometimes that they're doing stuff at that moment that's not. I want to be careful here, but it's not like abusive, or it's not like they're doing something for the intentionality to hurt. Like there's a lot of times you see some parents that they try to do stuff for the other person's good, overbearing, over enabling parents, and they end up like doing more damage than what they knew. But at that point, like they didn't know any better because maybe that's how they were trained by their parents. So that's why it's like kind of hard sometimes. Tried therapy, marriage counseling twice, but the therapist is clueless to narcissism and has no experience, and they seem to side with his charm, and he becomes the victim. Yeah, which is why number one reason why we don't suggest for you to go to couples counseling therapy with a narcissist, because it doesn't work. Because you're all, like when you go to therapy with a narcissist, when you go to any type of like couples counseling, the idea of going to couples counseling is where both people are coming together and they want to be able to work in the relationship. The problem is the narcissist walks in with a mask that's completely different that says, oh, I want to work on the relationship at the same time while they're abusing you. So that's the part where counseling and therapy together does not work. If they actually want healing, growth, and change, tell them to get into therapy, and then step back and wait to see if they do. Okay. Do you think narcissists can change and form genuinely meaningful relationships? What has your experience been? So my experience has been a long, crazy, hard ass road, and we're still on that experience. I do think it's possible. I do think it's possible for narcissists change, but not unless they're willing to be honest and vulnerable about what they've done, who they are, and what they're going through. And that's like the hard reality is like narcissism is built on that defense mechanism of always hiding who I am, always running from shame, and always burying it deep and letting everybody else have to deal with it but them. They avoid that accountability, that responsibility. I gave this example the other day. Like, hopefully, it makes sense because I want you guys to understand guilt and shame and also intentionality. So, like, as a narcissist, a lot of it is the aspect of I'm not intentionally going into this relationship to hurt or abuse you, but I don't mind if that happens because as long as it doesn't come back on me. So think of this example. We're standing right here. Okay. I'm standing here. You're running behind me. And down the road, I see a car that's coming at about 60 miles an hour. On the front bumper of that car, it reads guilt and shame. And as I see that car coming to me and I start to realize and see what's actually on that car, I start to realize that what's coming at me is guilt and shame, the exact stuff that I don't want to admit, the exact stuff that I don't want to be held accountable. And as it gets closer, I'm going to do anything in my power to not get impacted by that guilt and shame. So as a result, I jump out of the way and that car runs over you. Now, in that moment, was I thinking, hey, let me have this car run over you? No, I wasn't because I didn't care. All I was thinking about is how do I avoid this? How do I avoid the accountability, the responsibility, the reality of what's coming at me, that guilt and shame that's barreling at me at 60 miles an hour? How do I avoid that? And when I jump out of the way and I avoid it and it hurts you, the main thing that matters is that it didn't hurt me. It's guilt and shame of what I've done, of who I've hurt, of how I've acted. Like there's a lot of different guilt and shame that goes back to a lot of different things and a plethora of different things. But the idea where the narcissist doesn't have the emotional maturity to be able to take guilt in their life, criticism, like anything like that, to be able to take guilt and be able to say like, hey, this guilt doesn't define me. Most narcissists take guilt and they're like, wow, that means that I'm a worthless piece of shit. Have you ever had like those crazy, like stupid conversations where like you argue about something so minuscule, so small? Because on the narcissist side, what's happening is it's triggering a lot of times the aspect of shame. And it's so hard to be able to work through. It's so hard to be able to acknowledge. I had someone I was talking to today, a husband and wife, and she was like, yeah, like I admit my vulnerabilities all the time. And I was like, yeah, but the difference is when you admit your vulnerabilities, it feels like a paper cut. When a narcissist admits their vulnerabilities, it feels like they just lost an arm. Like there's a drastic like mental and emotional like difference. It's like sticking your hand in a boiling pot of water. You're going to jerk your hand out. That's like the emotional and mental response that comes from the idea of having an impact with guilt and shame. I have to run from that. I have to get away from it as much as possible. It's so hard to be able to work through. And like in trying to explain it, a lot of times it's really hard to be able to explain because sometimes people aren't able to connect with it because it doesn't make sense. Like I don't even think that way. Give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I don't think I've said this on any lives or video. A couple weeks ago, so I have an office. So like I'm working, I'm at home right now because a lot of my lives I do from home. It's easier than going to office, coming back. I have an office. We were going to the office the other day. It was like a week or two ago. Was going to meet there, and then was going to go to counseling, which is like just coming down the road. And our babysitter had some stuff like change with her plans. She was here for when we need to go to counseling, but then she wasn't able to stay later. And so my wife was upset about it. Like she was like frustrated in the moment, like what she was communicating, how she was saying it, no matter what she could have said or how she could have said it in that moment, what I was interpreting is that my wife is pissed off at me because she hates the fact that I have an office. She does, but like that's what I was thinking. She hates the fact that I have an office. She thinks that we're disconnected and go to shit, and it's all my fault. Like that's just like immediate, like boom. Like this is like the shame train we're going on is going this direction. Then we talk about it in therapy and we like start working through it, and all of a sudden like she says stuff, the therapist says stuff, and it clicks in my mind, and I'm like, oh, like literally, like this is how stupid it is. Okay, so like get ready, like this is my revelation for that moment. Okay, the therapist said it, and what I realized in that moment is that she wasn't upset about the situation, wasn't upset about me. Like she wasn't taking that out on me. She was upset at the situation that we weren't able to spend more time together. And all of a sudden it clicked in my head. I was like, oh, my wife loves me and wants to be with me. Like everybody's like, what, are you stupid? Like she's been around for all this time. Like, yeah, but that's what clicked in my head in that moment, because there was this giant blockage of like shame and guilt that was saying it was back on me. That's the stuff that's like so like I'm trying to like wrap my head around it to be able to explain it, but like that's the stuff that's like so confusing and so hard to be able to share and like communicate, because it doesn't make sense to most people, because they don't understand like what's actually going on like on the other side. But a lot of times the narcissist will take your criticism, your rejection, your abandonment, all this different side of stuff as a personal attack, and they'll twist it around even when it's not, when it has nothing to do with that. Okay. I missed a ton of questions. So that was the first soapbox of the night. Yeah, no, if you're interested in talking to me one-on-one, you can go to rawmotivations.com. There's a place to go and schedule there. Also, if you haven't had a chance, just download the NARC app. It's on Apple and Google Play, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Monthly coaching, track your act, record your truth, read courses, like go through a whole bunch of different stuff. There's a lot of people on there giving advice and helping people on a day-to-day basis. Where are we at? I missed Panda, yeah, would love to talk to you one-on-one. Where are we at? I'll try to catch up some. Very few have the courage, and not many therapists are equipped to do it. It's tough work for everyone. So glad to hear from people like you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It is tough work. There's a lot of therapists that aren't equipped for it. And even like I've talked to therapists, I've talked to psychologists. Like the number one thing that's almost like across the board, almost word for word, anytime I talk to a therapist, psychologist, someone in goals, is what they say is, I've learned about this in college, I've learned about this in school, but it doesn't look like this in the real world, because those are people that are stuck with a narcissist. No, I've never interacted or worked with Matt Pfeiffer. Do narcs get a place in their life that are content and stop chasing the next best thing? No, not at all. Bro, can I ask, why is he so obsessed with the ex before me? So obsessed with the ex before me. It's probably not as much obsession, but it's probably triangulation on you. So it's probably trying to up his game with you without having to do anything. There's also just that obsession period that they'll have like after they like leave. Maybe he got rejected, and he wants back. Yeah, the individual has to want it. Has to want it. I've looked into co-parenting, et cetera, but having more insight from narcissists that are self-aware and have kids, can be honest about relationships and kids. As a father, can you explain the impacts? Can you explain the impacts and any explanation? Because your thought process really makes sense when you explain it, like explaining the babysitter doesn't. So, like I struggle with kids. So kids for a narcissist, like just across the board, you have the majority of narcissists that don't care about their kids because kids are an inconvenience, whether that's money, time, energy, anything like that. Like the kids are an inconvenience because it's taking away from the narcissist agenda, from like what they want. Again, that's all that it's about. Okay. So like when you're having like kids and when you're kind of working through that, you have to understand like you're coming from a place of like, oh my gosh, I love the kids. And the narcissist coming like, oh my gosh, they're annoying. Like that's like the idea of like what's actually behind the narcissist loving their kids. So like you have to kind of like understand that at like a base level. Then you have the aspect of like for me, I have to engage with a lot of like cognitive therapy and then try to figure out how do I bring that into into emotional empathy. How do I bring that into the aspect of like, hey, I want to be able to connect and help and grow my daughter. But that cognitive empathy is something that I have to rely on, but it's not innate. It's not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, you just stubbed your toe. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just like, well, if you hadn't kicked the door, then you wouldn't be crying. Like, that's the kind of like difference. And so being able to see that modeled like by my wife, who tries to practice respectful parenting and tries to actually demonstrate and walk our child through like that emotional maturity aspect, like that's what I see as being like a big change and a big difference that a lot of families don't do out there. And as a result, like their kids are either like overbeared on, they're over cannot think of the word, over control, or like they don't understand why they're doing, they're just conformed. Like they're just all about, and that's the thing you struggle with as well with I think like a lot of aspects of Christianity, a lot of aspects of like religion in general is like if people aren't careful, they don't actually communicate like the heart of what's actually going on. All they teach is conformity. You need to look like this. You need to act like this. You need to become like this. When I first started to share some of my story, I don't think everybody knows this. When I first started to share my story, I started on my personal Instagram page and I started posting stuff about narcissism and about the fact that I had affairs. The first couple people that started coming out of the woodwork coming at me weren't the trolls, weren't the narcissists, weren't like the people on social media. It was the Christians. It was the people I went to college with. It was the people that I grew up with or that was in church that started coming at me and being like, bro, like, why are you putting this stuff out on social media? Like, you've got a wife and a daughter to think of. And I'm like, yes, I do. And I don't want my daughter to grow up and be with someone like me because she's unaware of what's actually going on. So many times people like are more concerned about conforming people to a certain standard than they are about teaching someone how to actually engage with life and how to be emotionally mature in all aspects of life. Suggestions on how to deal with one in court. He's scary, dangerous to the kids, and completely unaware of how incompetent he is. Won't stop fighting for custody, though. I would definitely say, if you don't already, look up Judge Anthony or Anthony Bompiani, depending on which social media platform you're on. Well, you're on Instagram, so I think it's Anthony Bompiani. I'm not sure. But Judge Anthony, he's got some really great stuff about going into the court system with that. Until you've actually gotten through the court system, I recommend, as well as he does, use the BIF method, not gray rocking. So you have to like Google that. But the BIF method is brief, informative, friendly, and firm. And it helps be able to setting those boundaries. Why did he want to be friends after 2 months, after no contact 2 months, and he's still with the ex he cheated on with? So they want to be friends to be able to keep the door open. Like, as a narcissist, the goal is to be able to keep the door open. If I can keep the door open, I can step back anytime. I can extend my stay in your life. I can be able to tap you to be able to get whatever I want, time, money, energy, sex, whatever it might be. Like, as long as that door is open, I can get back in. So many times people are like, oh, I just won't answer. I just won't respond. Really, like, leave the door open and watch the narcissist walk through almost every single time. Because if you don't block, if you don't go no contact, if you don't ghost, so there's no way for them to come back in, they'll come back in. Because all I need to do as a narcissist, all I need to do is to get you to react. Like, people think it's like, oh, well, if I give them a good response or a bad response, like, no, the narcissist doesn't care. The narcissist only cares about the reaction. And they do it so often because all I have to do is send you a text message every single day until you break down, to send you something that's frustrating, to send you something I know it's going to get underneath your skin. And because you haven't blocked, because you haven't gotten no contact, all of a sudden you respond. I've won. I recently did a video, I think, on TikTok. It should be on everybody else within the next day, of like, when you respond, when you let them back in, when you open it up, when you're not blocked, they win. It's like, you want to win over a narcissist, go know that ghost. Don't let them ever come back in your life, ever. Isn't borderline closely related with narcissism? So borderline is the neighbor to narcissism in the cluster B personality disorders. So you got antisocial, histrionic, borderline, and narcissism. We don't like to talk about borderline because that's when I normally get shredded on the internet. The girl that I was with for a period of time that helped me actually see the aspects of what I was doing was toxic was because I saw what she was doing was toxic. She was borderline with narcissistic traits. It started opening up my eyes when I started being the one receiving the gaslighting, receiving the lies, receiving the being cheated on, like all that kind of stuff. Can you please answer my question? My ex says he's worthless and a loser and I deserve someone better during my discard. Was he telling the truth about themselves? So it's not necessarily he's telling the truth about himself. Like, yes, maybe you can say that like low key because it's true, but like it's not that he's being honest. It's that he's trying to invoke sympathy from you. And you're like, oh no, you're not that bad. Like, let's continue to work on this. Ha, gotcha. Like that's really what's going on. Is it typical for them to overshare information? Yeah, absolutely, especially at the beginning, because oversharing information for a narcissist makes you feel like they're vulnerable. If you get in that relationship early on and they're sharing about like past trauma and like everything that's been going on back then, like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, he's like so vulnerable and so open. No, he's just telling you about past trauma and abuse. And so as a result, you think that they're vulnerable and now they have them. Can people have traits and not be a narcissist? Yeah. But are those traits toxic enough for you to still stay? At the end of the day, is abuse is abuse. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I sense my question is being passed over. Where's your question? Oh, I'll ask again if we get an answer. Would a narcissist be surprised if a person shows boundaries immediately? How might a narcissist respond? So, like, if you set boundaries immediately, you have the best chance of protecting yourself against a narcissist. And so, I would say set those boundaries immediately. Say no when you're in the dating scene. Like, say no to be able to see how they're going to respond. Okay, setting boundaries are what protects you. The reason the thing you have to remember is narcissists hate boundaries. Narcissists think boundaries are prison. A healthy relationship thinks boundaries are protection. So you have to go into it being like, hey, I'm going to protect myself boundaries. And those boundaries you set are for yourself. So many times people get this confused. They're like, I need to set a boundary for the narcissist, or it feels so bad that I'm setting a boundary for that person. You're saying to yourself, this is how much shit I'm going to deal with before I actually say, hey, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not here anymore. Like whatever it might be. Boundary is for yourself, not for someone else. All right. Yeah, no problem. We're trying to get comments as best we can everywhere. There's a great course that just came out a month ago about boundaries on the NARC app. If you haven't had a chance to download the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, Apple and also on Google Play, be able to check that out. Our own Bree, who runs Abuse is Abuse, she wrote that course, did an amazing job. It's got some great information there. Check that out. Why would someone financially support their 30-year-old daughter? Enabling. Did it actually bother you that she was doing that, or did it bother you because you weren't the one dishing it out? No, it bothered me that she was doing that, and that's part of what made me see what was going on. Had a recent Hoover attempt, I didn't respond. Good. Try to go block, no context, so they can't even Hoover. What would I say when they keep pushing the boundary? So if they keep pushing the boundary, like you need to let them know, like, hey, this isn't okay. Like this is something that I'm actually like serious about. Like I don't want to do this, or I don't want to go this direction, or hey, like you're not actually listening to me. So what's the consequence? If you just set up a boundary, so for everybody out there, it's like, how do I set boundaries? Okay, one, we've got the NARC app. It's got a whole boundaries course. Two, I just did a video. I think it was this past week. You have to check. Just look up on YouTube, Raw Motivations, and then boundaries. Or maybe it's coming out next week. I'm sorry, but there's one that I'm doing about like setting boundaries. But with boundaries, you have to be able to also establish consequences. And so many times people set up boundaries of like, hey, don't do this. And the person does it and they're like, oh shit, like I didn't think about what I was supposed to do if they broke that boundary. A boundary without consequence is just a speed bump that the narcissist is going to keep driving over you. No boundary without consequences is just a speed bump that the narcissist is going to keep driving over you. So please be careful. Okay. Because if you don't have a consequence, if you don't actually have something set in your mind, this is just going to happen over and over again. A narcissist is going to walk in your life and they're going to come in to test your boundary, to break your boundary, to run right over you. Like no matter what, like, you have to be careful. That's why you have to set boundaries. So let's talk about boundaries real quick. Okay. I know I've been talking about boundaries. Okay. Let's talk about boundaries real quick, because some of you out there, like, wait a second, like what about my narcissist? Like maybe they're changing. Maybe they're showing change. They've been changing for like a month, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like what about that? So like when you think of this, what you need to come up with what you need to come up with when you're talking about boundaries is think of it boundaries slash goals for your narcissist. All right, so like, is my narcissist changing? Listen up, okay? Boundary slash goals. This is what you have to come up with. You have to come up with 6. I know I just did 5, so add 1. 6. Okay, you have to come up with 6 boundaries slash goals. They have to be like SMART goals. They have to be time sensitive and they have to be quantifiable. So they have to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes or no? They did this, and it has to be time sensitive. I need to see this within this amount of time, or like let's say for instance, like they need to go to therapy. Period. That's 1. They need to go to therapy for at least 6 months on a weekly basis. Okay, that's 2. You come up with 6 boundary slash goals, and for the narcissist, you communicate 2. That 2 is the max amount of boundary slash goals that you're allowed to communicate to the narcissist. The other 4 you will take to your grave. And you're like, why would I do that? Because narcissists are amazing at checking the boxes. If you give me like I asked my wife to give me a list. Just today yesterday, I asked her to give me a list. She was like, I need some help around the house. I was like, make a list. Because it's so much easier for me to just go through and check the boxes. But that's what they do in the relationship. You say, I want you to get into therapy. I want you to spend time with me. I want you to do X, Y, and Z. All of a sudden, they're like, check, check, check. Did all those things. Now I can go back to abuse. And then you're like, but wait a second, you're not changing. Well, yeah, no, I did what you told me to do. So like, what's the problem? Like, I went to therapy. Like, I go on weekly dates with you. I spend time with you. Like, why do you have a problem with me cheating? Like, that's literally like what'll happen. And like some of you are like, that's crazy. Like, no, it's not crazy. Like, these are like real examples of people that have gone through this, that they try to actually have this happen and just gets completely like blown up. Like, it's crazy. Okay. So boundaries are really important. So you set boundaries. So you think your narcissist is changing, 6 goals slash boundaries, communicate 2 of them. They have to be time sensitive. They have to be over a period of time. They have to be quantifiable. They don't know the other 4. If they don't continue to heal, grow, and change and continue moving that dial forward, then you leave. Period. Okay. Narcissists are very impulsive, and when they're angry, they drive recklessly. Absolutely. Guarantee you, on like everybody that's on live right now, you probably have 80% of them that have seen a narcissist go crazy in the car or almost die in the car. Why do a narcissist call me needy if he desired attention? As projection, putting it back on you so that you're the needy one. So you're like doubting yourself. How do you recommend handling the smear campaign? Talk to the people. Oh, that's like a crown thingy. Cool. Talk to the people that you know. Okay, focus on the people that you know or that are friends with you. Just be able to share what's going on. Everybody else that's like flying monkeys or like friends with everybody else, like ignore them. Go on, live your life. The thing is, too many people get so worked up over a smear campaign that if they just live their life, everybody would start realizing like, hey, like this isn't this doesn't match up. Do I have the 6 boundary thing on your app? I do, that particular like phrase and stuff. I don't. We do have a whole boundary course on there that was made by Brie. Abuse is abuse, but I don't have like that. That was just me talking. Yeah, absolutely. My family members have always made excuses for any bad behavior that people do towards me. I'm aware it's invalidating, but not really sure why it's being done. How should I handle this? Is that like immediate family or like um your parents or whatever? Like the biggest thing for you is just acknowledging the truth of like, hey, this is what I've experienced. This is what actually is going on. What's the terminology when the narc gets their victim to lash back physically? Reactive abuse. Someone talked to me the other day. They were like, reactive abuse is based on, hey, there was a reaction. The problem is most people only see the reaction. They don't see the action that actually caused it. What's things that narcissists will never do? I actually did a YouTube video about that. I don't remember it all off the top of my head. But they go completely silent after they don't get what they want. What does that mean? So a lot of times, like the silent treatment is a way to be able to guilt you into coming back and apologizing for something that they didn't get. Like, I didn't get this from you, so like I'm gonna go completely silent until you kind of grovel back to me, like apologizing for something that I did. Okay. Do narcissists recognize one another in the wild? Maybe not necessarily like unaware. I mean, they probably like, oh, like there's a friend that abuses other people too. Like, it's I don't think it's exactly like that. There's probably like some aspect where they can connect on some level. Um, I know like myself and Lee, like we definitely like see them a lot faster for sure. Will narcissists ever be completely happy with anyone? Not unless they have self-love, self-reflection, and actually work on themselves. Do narcs have standards with who they date, or is it just all about good supply? It's all about good supply. It's all about who they can mold. A lot of times you see narcissists that go for like younger people. Reason why they want to go for younger people is they don't have as much life experiences. A lot of times they're naive, and the narcissist thinks, "Hey, here's a fresh new person that I can actually mold into being the person that I want, the ideal person." So you'll see them actually get with younger people to try to mold them into the person that they want them to be. The grass is always green on the other side. Well, yeah. Well, maybe I can also paint the grass greener. My former narcissist believes everybody is for sale. He repeatedly said that he is the most important man in his job. Yeah, no, absolutely. Married 16 years with 3 children, leaving seems like a pretty destructive option. Should that be reserved as a consequence for extreme abuse? What's extreme abuse? Like extreme abuse, like when they punch you in the face, or when they punch you in the side, or like when they destroy your emotions, or like when they destroy your kids. Like you have to be able to evaluate that. Like I would not put that with extreme abuse at all. I would say abuse is abuse. And probably like the biggest thing I could say to you, like would be to cheating again, leave. Like they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about the relationship. They don't care. Leave. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's telling someone to leave. Yeah, because like if you're with someone that doesn't value you, that doesn't honor you, that doesn't respect you, like there's no love there. They're just using you. Leave. Like stop staying in a relationship. Stop staying in a relationship for the kids, because you could actually be doing more damage to the kids. Brensky, where the hell have you been? I haven't seen you in forever, man. Love you, man. But I'm glad you're here. Have not seen you in forever though. But yeah, like an absent, like what I was going to tell you is an absent parent is better than a toxic parent. So many times people stay in a relationship, they'll lie to the kids, they'll say that everything's okay kids later down the road. Like it has to be age appropriate. Be honest about the kids. Like be honest what's happening. Okay. Bart, last name. Are they really miserable inside, as most people say? Yeah, they are. Silent treatment they do to punish you, not take accountability. 100%. Staying creates trauma in the kids. Yeah. Is there usually multiple girls he's cheating with? A lot of times. How long is this live? Are you bored already? I'm just kidding. What time is it? It's 9:58 my time. So we go for 1 hour left. If you missed some of it, then check out YouTube. We've got it saved on there. Okay. But yeah. Bart Tuck. Yeah, I remember you. Awesome, man. Good to hear from you. Berensky been dating. LOL. Found a good one. Good. I'm guarded. Boundaries are strong. Narc free. Dude, that's awesome. Dude, that's awesome. No, I've just missed seeing you on the lives. You're my narc app pumper upper. And we didn't see you on the monthly coaching. So I was like getting ready to like reach out. I was like, I'm a little worried. I actually just thought of it the other night when I was on one live. I was like, um haven't seen I saw Scott the other night. Scott, are you on here? Scott G? Uh are you ever attempted? As I think you attempted to cheat on your wife now. I think like there's always temptation there, period. But for me, it's like, how am I working on building myself every single day to be able to avoid that temptation, to be able to make sure I'm not going that direction? It's almost like going to the gym. Like I'm always gonna have temptations. I'm always gonna have, the narcissistic personality. Like I'm always gonna have like all of this stuff like going on like in my head. But like when you go to the gym and you work on like building up reps and getting stronger, like that's what I'm doing. Building defenses, I'm building methods and mechanisms to make sure that I don't go back to the person that I was, including cheating, lying, abusing, like mentally, emotionally, like all that kind of stuff. Bart, thanks so much. Appreciate it. When they threaten to leave to make you stop questioning them. Yeah, a lot of times they're going to hold a lot of stuff over you, whether that's threatening to leave, whether that's threatening to unalive themselves, like you name it, they'll threaten just to get you to be quiet and to get you to like come back to them saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me apologize so we can still be together." No, I don't think a narc is born a narc. It has to do with early childhood, and sometimes it has to do with like before their was done like the past couple of weeks. So just like learning about like early on. Do you think narcissism is rare? Seems like it's everywhere they find me. No, I don't think narcissism is rare at all. I think we're common in our culture and in society and in our broken homes. Do they downgrade when they have a really good woman? They don't really care. Do narcs feel ashamed for mooching off others, or does a sense of entitlement trump entitlement does? It's not really like a shame for mooching. It's a shame for like who they are, biological and environmental. So like it's from like, early on. So like think of it this way. So a lot of narcissism, like even like like early on. So let's say from like 6 months to 18 months, where they're disconnected, like the gray matter, like as they begin to grow and develop, there's this aspects of like the empathy, those emotions that aren't there, that aren't connected like early on. As they continue growing up, they don't have maybe the emotional maturity, or they haven't been actually like coached or learn like how to be able to work through some of this stuff. So as they learn more and more, you have parents that are overbearing or parents that are enabling that end up like just like helping this become even more prevalent. How do narcissistic family members handle you leaving your narcissistic spouse? I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Uh, they probably wouldn't like it because they're probably like enabling in nature. But that's a really good question. I've got a couple people that I know, but they're not content creators. A couple people that I know that have like dealt with some of that. Um, anybody that wants to talk about like narcissistic family, or like especially like a mom or a dad in one sense, check out Stan Coaching, or check out Abuses Abuse. Both of them had like narcissistic parents. Can someone have other mental health issues that looks have? Do narcs think they're the best at what they do for work? No time for you, only as once. Yeah, absolutely. Why does he always choose strong, financially well-off women? A lot of times, a narcissist will do that to one, mooch off the other person, and two, try to upgrade their status. The problem is when they get that status, they realize that that status is still not reflecting of them, because now you try to make that person feel like they're the least thing ever when they've been the best and the most self-confident person ever before they're in the relationship. What if they threaten? What if they threaten to take his life, that he doesn't want to be in this world anymore? Call the suicide hotline. Like get him help. Get him in the hospital. Are multiple failed marriages and relationships a red flag that someone's a narcissist? Possibly. There's a lot more red flags you gotta see than just that. But yeah, he always has an excuse to be gone. We have a baby, and I work 40 from home, so he thinks I'm lazy. He always has every excuse to be gone. If he's gone all the time, especially like in like the baby side, like probably cheating on you. I'm in a 21-year relationship with one. He recently left, but won't take his clothes or anything. Yeah, he's leaving the door open. If I can leave stuff there, it gives me an excuse to come back in your life. So pack up the stuff, ship it, give it to a mutual friend, check the laws of your state, write an eviction notice, set it on the curb, burn it. If you block after they reverse discard, will they come back? Possibly. You never really know. So the thing is, like, when they come back, like, it could be like 1 month, it could be like 10 years. That's what I say, like, block, go no contact. The video posted about how a narc would be recording reactive abuse. He would use it as a threat to ruin my life, lose my job, friends. It happened with me at the end of the relationship before no contact. Yeah, a lot of times you have like reactive abuse that people will, record. You know, and that's the whole thing that I said like earlier. Like people talk about reactive abuse, it's a reaction. It's a reaction to what's been going on. People never talk about or you never see the action. It's like what was the action that happened before you reacted to it, but all they want to be able to do is record the reaction. That way they can tell everybody, like, look how crazy my ex is. Like, this is why I left. Like, this is why I had to get out because this is what I was dealing with on an everyday basis when it was probably like once a month, like just giving examples, but like that's like the idea. Do narcs spy or often install GPS trackers? Some, yeah. Mine did the same. Yeah, mine did the same. Left her stuff here. I ended up boxing it up and put it in a storage unit in her name. Yeah, that's awesome. After 6 months of marriage, started cheating with many. Yeah, mine started a year. And a year after marriage was when that all started. A pastor friend and my friend who goes to his church are both narcs and have hurt me. How can you be a Christian? How can you be Christian? So let me phrase it this way. Everybody who's asking, like, what about the people that abuse that are Christians? Like a Christian abuser. I don't think that exists. Okay. I don't think a Christian abuser exists because to be a Christian, they have to claim that they've been impacted by the God of the universe. And if they're not willing to live a changed life, then they haven't really been impacted by anything. So a Christian abuser, I just call an abuser because they're not demonstrating or having any of the fruit of what an actual Christian should exemplify. Why does he get so mad when he comes in the room and I am listening to you? Truth. That's someone that got on the one-on-one coaching. Like everything you're saying is like a bunch of bull crap. I was like, okay. I'm like, I mean, you tell me. And she's like, yeah, well, I know it's not, but like they get triggered. They get triggered. just go read through the comments of Lindsay's video the other day that hit like 5 million people. Like the little one with the sound where like she's knocking on the door. That like the Lindsay Goodman. Go like watch that video. Read through some of the comments. Like you see all the people come out of the woodwork. These people don't know what they're talking about. There's no such thing as narcissistic abuse. Like narcissists don't abuse. Like everything comes out of the woodwork. It's great. I got to do one now that I saw like her get tore up. Like I got to do one. I think it'll be fun. It's been 3 months. He still tries to call me. He's blocked, but it's amazing how he still tries. Yeah, keep that block. Do you think addiction is part of it? Addiction is on the side. Let me have a little bit of narcissism with addiction on the side. Okay, addiction is the idea of sedating what I'm feeling or thinking, sedating that shame. I know I'll do one. I just haven't had time. It also wouldn't work in my office because it's like a sliding glass door. So like it would just look weird. But yeah, I'll record it sometime. I'm a Christian and he curses use the Lord's name in vain because he knows that really upsets me. Yeah. He doesn't respect you. And he doesn't respect God. So pack up your stuff, find the door. Mine says I'm the narcissistic parent when he got mad at me for telling him to exercise his time. It's kind of crazy. So they feel shame. Yeah, absolutely. Shame is the raging river that's underneath narcissism. The truth will set you free. Absolutely. That's the hard part. When people are stuck in the trauma bonds and they don't know how to get out, one of the first steps is acknowledging the truth. So when I work with people and I kind of walk them through that aspect, like the first thing is like, what's the story that you're telling yourself? And then what's the truth? And how do we actually like put it like in the right aspect? Typically they feel shame along lines of like what they've done, who they are, but then they also don't have the emotional maturity to be able to process it the correct way. So I look at something that I did bad, and that means I am bad. That's the shame. Most think that they are good or better than God. Yeah, absolutely. Because they're the God of their own universe. I mean, the world revolves around me as a narcissist. Like that's the idea. I'm tired of being depressed and confused. Yeah. No, there's like so much that goes on, especially with the trauma bond. So like super quick, the trauma bond is built off of hope, potential, or cognitive dissonance. The problem is, in your mind, like, hey, this is a toxic relationship, but you still feel pulled to come back. You still feel that emotional pull. That's why I work with people on a day-to-day basis to help them break out of that trauma bond. Be able to get through the process of like, what's your emotions about the situation? What's the feelings that are going underneath it? What's the story that you're telling yourself that keeps pulling you back? Then what's the actual facts of the situation? And what's the truth? Because the truth is what sets you free. Why did not care about getting STDs? Mine got a curable one, but kept cheating. It's all about like in the moment, living with no regret, not caring about the other person. Like they don't, it just doesn't even like resonate. Think it is like that. That's just a boundary that I'm not going to listen to. Does she know she hurt me? If so, why didn't she apologize and discard me? She might have known that she hurt you, but she didn't care. She just cared that she didn't get hurt. Do you feel a bond with your wife? As far as trauma bond or like relational bond or like love bond or like what are we talking? How much shame does narcissists have to experience before they come to the realization that they're toxic and need help? I don't get a level of shame that all of a sudden it like triggers them needing help. He said a cancer diagnosis made from reevaluated is not going to change Willie. Time will tell. Watch the behaviors, watch the actions. Set those goals / boundaries, communicate to, keep before to yourself and see. So like the trauma bond is built up of a lot of different lies that you believe. So like think of it this way. Narcissist takes a rope, okay? And the rope is a lie. And the lie is you're not good enough. And they take that rope, and they put it around you, and then they're pulling the rope back. So you're stuck here, like getting pulled back to the narcissist. You're not good enough. And you're ugly. You're too old. No one's gonna want a single parent with kids. Like all this kind of stuff. And they put rope after rope after rope around you, pulling you back to them. That's the idea of the trauma bond. And it's actually get to the place where you start working through and acknowledging the truth, like taking apart piece by piece. Like if they've got 30 lies around you, you can't break through those ropes. But you know what? We can help you break through one. And it becomes a little bit easier to break the second one and the third one and the fourth one. And like when I try to work with people, the idea like we start to see like people start changing, growing, and all of a sudden it's like zoop, and it just like takes off. Like there's some people in the chats here that have actually done one-on-ones and like know how this process like works. And when you start applying it to a lot of different aspects of life, you start clearing the fog of your relationships and you start understanding like, hey, I'm living in truth. And that truth is what sets you free. The problem is the narcissist takes you. Narcissist takes you. You're walking down the street. The narcissist takes you, steps out into a field, says, "Come, follow me this way." You walk out into the field, and all of a sudden, you start seeing this like red haze kind of going around. That says red flag. Kind of going off. You're like, wait a second, is this where I need to be going? The narcissist is like, yeah, keep following me. They grab your hand, keep walking you farther into the field. As you keep walking into the field, the haze gets worse and worse. More red, more ideas, and you're like, this isn't working. All of a sudden, you can't see anymore, and the haze is going around time and time again, and all of a sudden you're in a fear of what the narcissist is going to say to you, how they're going to tear you down, how they're going to like hurt you, who they're going to be when they walk into the door. Like you never know what's going to happen. It's filled with obligation, thinking that, hey, this is who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be the committed wife, the loving husband. I'm supposed to be in this relationship. I've already told everybody else that it's a great marriage. You feel that obligation of like, this is what I'm supposed to be. And then you feel guilt as well because they're saying this is who you actually are. And the fear, the obligation to build up the fog that swirls around you. And the only thing you know, the only thing that you can hear is the narcissist's voice saying, hey, go this way. Hey, go that way. And they manufacture their emotions. They manufacture perception. They build that trauma bond, rope by the place where you just feel completely stuck. And then that's that aspect of the trauma bond. And until you figure out the story, you're not able to get underneath the surface, rewire your mind, and get to the place of healing, growth, and change. That's what it's about. That's why we're on here. That's why this channel exists. Awareness, growth, healing, and change. The hard part is just knowing that you're in a trauma bond doesn't set you free. And some people get so frustrated because they're in a trauma bond and they were only dating the narcissist for a month. And they're still dealing with it 2 years later. Because the narcissist packs in tons of time into such a small period of time. It goes so fast. And you get to the place where you're stuck in that like trauma bond. You're like, how do I get out? You have to acknowledge the truth. You have to figure out the story that you're believing. If you guys want to work one-on-one, that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I do 3 things. I try to help you break out of the trauma bond, acknowledge what the story actually is, and rewire your mind with the truth of the situation to get through the ruminating phase of where you are like, hey, I'm at peace because the narcissist isn't actively in my life abusing me, but it doesn't feel peaceful. All the relationships have been boring, and I keep thinking about them. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And then deal with people when they're in the stage of like, hey, like I'm out of that relationship, but what I do going forward, I need to set boundaries so that I don't go back to that narcissist, so I don't get with a new one. If that's you and you want to talk sometime, go to rawmotivations.com, click the link in the bio. I talk to people every single day across the whole planet. I start my one-on-ones at like 5 a.m. in the morning. The reason why I do that is because I talk to people in like England, Australia, New Zealand, like all over the globe. It's super cool. Like I'm really blessed to be able to talk to people all over the place and be able to help people grow, heal, and change. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't been put through all of that. I don't like it. It's not something I like tout as being like, oh my gosh, look, I'm a narcissist. Like it sucks. It sucks like even now being like self-aware because now you're aware of the stuff. You're aware of the tendencies. You're aware of like what's popping up and you're like, gosh, like this is hard. I have a dissociative disorder that affects my memory. It's used against me to gaslight me. Yeah. My therapist had done something. She calls it Splunkna. I'm not sure the official like name of it. That actually helps a lot with dissociative. And that particular one is also from like a Christian base. She like dabbles in everything. But yeah. Always questioning myself. Yeah, the one's rawmotivations.com. Yep. So you can go to rawmotivations.com. You can see all the different times, the different types of sessions, the different coaching packages, the fees when I'm available, all that kind of stuff. Why do they give you a blanket apology and they never take accountability for their actions? A blanket apology isn't really an apology. An apology without change is just manipulation. Steele, are you on here? She always like reminds me like the exact like way that I was able to like quote it and say it. But like when it comes down to it, a lot of times you have the narcissist that says like, hey, it was your fault. And then all of a sudden they'll switch to be like, you know, it's our fault. You know, the only thing that changed is they just dropped the why. But at the end of the day, they're still thinking it's your fault. So a blanket apology is them still lying to themselves and still saying it's your fault no matter what. Do you do parent to child coaching or do you do just relationships? So I do kind of like all over the place. So I meet with anybody, you know, relationships, partnerships, like whatever. Do it with a parent and kids. Do it like husband and wife, and do it with people in like the workplace, like all over the place. Is it common for them to have any self-harm, OCD disorders? If you're looking at self-harm and OCD disorders, I would tell you to look up borderline. Okay, and look up that and kind of see what resonates there. Do I do sessions with narcissists? Yes. However, for all the people that's like, oh, we did a session with narcissists. If you're thinking about telling me to do a session with me, don't waste my time. Like, unless they want to do it, unless they get their booty off the couch and actually do it, like, I don't want to talk to them. because it has to come from them. For all those people that are like enabling, being like, let me book your session for you, like forget it. Like it doesn't matter. If you have to book a session for like with me or with a therapist for your narcissist, like leave. Like you need to understand that. Like if you're the person, take the initiative. Like honestly, what you're doing at that point is you're just enabling. Like you're not holding them accountable. You're not putting the responsibility on them. You're just like, let me support you. That's not support. Okay. Why don't you make a channel to help narcissists, just for narcissists to come and talk to you? Narcissists can come talk to me. It'd be a small channel with a bunch of people trying to shed their ego, or a small channel with a bunch of little alpha males trying to talk to each other. The flash of anger in their eyes is so scary. Yeah, or the black eyes. Yeah. After years of emotional neglect, I finally started firing back, and he holds that against me. Yeah, absolutely. What made you want to change? A lot of different things. I don't know. I didn't have a rock bottom, and I didn't have a light bulb moment. I normally call my light bulb moment. It was on a dimmer switch. It slowly turned on. It was like the aspect of, let's see, so like sum it all up really quick. It's like a lot. Okay, it's like me starting to understand personalities. So Myers-Briggs, DISC, Enneagram, understanding that I'm different. I don't have the same empathy. I don't care about other people. Like it doesn't connect that way. Me like being like, maybe I'm a sociopath. Maybe I'm cursed. Like what the hell is actually like wrong with me? Starting to see that I can identify, like I'm actually going through cycles. Like actually like see this happening time and time again. Like questioning that. I got to a place that I got with a girl who had BPD and like narcissistic traits that kind of like woke me up to like, maybe this is something that I actually have. I did a challenge with a group called Wake Up Warrior that I'm still involved with. Absolutely love it. It keeps me grounded every single freaking day. And that started revealing the lies that I had in my life. Not just the lies that I had with everybody else, not just the lies that I had, between myself and supply or my wife or job or whatever it might be, but the lies I had between myself and God and between myself, like what I was actually thinking. And those lies didn't seem like, oh, I'm believing a lie. It just seemed like, no, like this is reality. Like this is what it is. When reality, like I wasn't doing anything that was loving, that was kind, or anything like that. And those are some of the biggest things. If you want to understand a little bit more motivations, on YouTube and look up self-aware narcissist. That goes like a little bit more in depth and tells you a little bit about it. If you guys are on some of the other channels, help me out. Go to Raw Motivations on YouTube and just sign up there. And click the little like bell icon or whatever, the notifications, so you'll be able to see it. We drop 2 videos every single day, typically around like 11 and like 4 p.m. Eastern time. They're 10 to 12 minutes long, talking about narcissism, where I go into more detail, talk through different books, Psychopath Free, The Narcissist in Your Life, the 2 biggest ones I've been going through, and actually like start like digging down to it. Do you have recommendation on literature for NPD and Christianity? So Psychopath Free, Narcissist in Your Life, those are like really good ones. As far as NPD and Christianity, look up When Narcissism Comes to Church. That's a really good one. It kind of like puts both of those together, and they do it in a really good way, in a respectful way. It's not like Christianity. It's not like psychology. They actually do it in like a really good way. For self-aware NPD, off the top of my head, it's like Identity and Wholeness, but that's not the title of it. That might be the website. I'm not sure. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Also, if you guys haven't had a chance, download the NARC app. Okay, check us out there. We've got monthly coaching, way to be able to track your no contact courses for you to be able to go through to understand more about narcissism. We had a boundaries course for all of those of you like, what do I do after the narcissist? We just had a course drop from Ro Faye, Roller Coaster of Love, that she just dropped, healthy dating after abuse. A new course that's in there. Like, check that out. So it's on the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, on Apple and Google Play. I'm aware. He says, I'm doing the work, but his actions are not in line with BPD. I think I missed something. If they're doing the work, but they're not changing, then they're not doing the work. Like a lot of times you'll see Psychopath Free and The Narcissist in Your Life. Narcissist in Your Life is written by Julie Hall. Psychopath Free is someone else. Someone can throw it in one of the chats. If there's anybody on Instagram that knows it, throw it on over there. How many times when you're putting the heat on the narcissist, they're like, but I'm changing. Can you not see about like me like changing? Like, can't you see like we're better? Jackson McKenzie, that's the author of Psychopath. He also came out with a new one. I don't remember what it's called. It's in my cart on Amazon. I haven't bought it yet because I have too many books I'm trying to read. What's the difference between a vulnerable and a covert narcissism? I would be on the side of saying nothing. Vulnerable is actually the new covert. And for anybody that wants to like attack me on that or question that, like, I don't have a lot of data behind it. Like, that's just me hearing from psychologists who like are on like the leading side of like research, and also like hearing some of the stuff of like theoreticals and stuff like that. So like covert narcissism a lot of times, and on the cutting edge technology of like figuring out narcissism is actually going away. After I just made like 2 videos on covert narcissism on YouTube, but it's actually being called vulnerable instead. Yeah, all of my lives are on YouTube. So if you miss any of this, you can go on YouTube and watch all of this all over again. Or you can just go on YouTube and just play it and leave it playing all night long. I've got a couple people that do that sometimes. It's kind of funny. I get you aren't giving me the opportunity to change. What about the past like 10 years? Yeah. They'll always try to blame you for it. Haven't heard from him for a week. Is he going to get back in touch, or is he's gone? He'll probably try to get back. Come back in the door if you leave the door open. Close it, lock it, bolt it. Biggie, I see you. She turns on the playlist on YouTube and just lets it run. She's like, I'm going to stay away from my narcissist through osmosis. Hey, if it works, it works, right? My narc won't be untainted with me for years and doesn't care of my needs for intimacy. Yeah. Do narcs know they have something wrong with them? Yeah, I think at the very like least base level, they know that something's weird. It's working. Vicky, I'm excited to see you. Hey, y'all, Vicky is driving from Chicago. She's driving all the way from Chicago down to Durham, North Carolina for July 23rd meet and greet with 5 out of 16 Narc Avengers that are going to be there. We're super excited. We've got myself, Lee Hammock, Mental Healness, Bree, who runs Abuse is Abuse, Dr. Carrie McAvoy, PhD, Lisa Sunny, who runs Stronger Than Before. All 5 of us are going to be there. Durham, North Carolina, the Honeysuckle at Lakewood. Coming in there, going to be 3 to 6 p.m. Meet with a bunch of different people. So we're super excited. I give up asking my question now. Now I actually see your question. What are we talking about? Let me see. Scroll. I'm like scrolling back. I don't even like see your question. So instead of being frustrated that I'm missing your question, just drop it back in there. I don't intentionally miss people's questions, but we're on 5 platforms. But yeah, if you're in North Carolina or in the United States, you can make the drive of the flight. We got Brittany. Are you still in here? Yeah, she's still here. Brittany, she's there. Are y'all flying or driving? But she's coming from Texas. Carrie McAvoy, she's flying from Texas. Lisa, she's flying from Canada. Like there's going to be a lot of people there. We're super excited. You do that also, leave the YouTube playing? Hey, that's awesome. Driving with what? Like 4 kiddos. That's going to be crazy. She's going to get to the meet and greet and be like, I need therapy now. Don't worry, Texas is coming. October 15th. I'm like spilling the beans before we actually announce it. October 15th is Texas. Austin, Texas. Oh, you're not coming now? Well, that's sad. When they accuse you of using them for sex, but they cheated with hold sex. Yeah. How do narcissists view their special needs children? Do they secretly resent them? So I would say narcissists would be more popular to think that kids in general are an inconvenience. So with that, I would say they resent them as well. Melissa, you'll be there too. Awesome. Do narcissists try to flaunt the new supply to get a reaction? Absolutely. When they get with a new supply, you're signing up for the production. Welcome to Narcissist Production. It's the whole new show that you're going to sign up to watch. So grab your popcorn and get ready to watch. So I always say block, go no contact. Don't they get tired of trying to bring us down when they get old or they die? How can you tell if you're with a narcissist or if you're actually the narcissist? Look at the DSM-5, look at the 9 traits. How do you know it's real? Are you talking about like in the relationship? Look at the actions, behaviors, what's being demonstrated. Not good with computers, electronics. I probably already contacted your organization. Is there a phone number? I don't have a phone number for Raw Motivations. You can go to my website, rawmotivation.com, or if push comes to shove, you can send me an email. It's just ben@rawmotivations.com. Actions don't match words. Yep, that's cognitive dissonance to a T. Oh, Instagram froze. Sorry. Yeah, October 15th, Austin, Texas. That's what I said. Sorry. No, I definitely miss. Will it be live streamed? Yeah, we'll see about doing that. I don't know like how well it'll be. I tried to like live stream the last one. It was kind of like hard to like see much, you know. I scrolled up and then I forgot to scroll down, so I probably like still missed your question if you put it back in there. Now I actually feel bad. Yeah, I don't see it. But anyways, rewiring. Is there a meeting for other wives like ourselves, Zoom or via voice meeting? No, not that I know of as far as like that. Like the closest we have for that right now is the NARC app and would be like the monthly Zoom calls. What is the community aspect of the NARC app? It's like new. Like we're still working on like growing it. We're at in Austin. I don't know. I'll be in Austin, but that's all I know. We're still working on growing it. So there's a lot of stuff that's there. There's a place to be able to like ask advice, like introduce yourself, be able to connect with other people. The Zoom calls are pretty cool because then you can actually like meet and greet like people, like see them face to face, like kind of talk to them, kind of share a little bit of your story, like connect with people that are going through the same stuff. Where to get the 9 traits? You can Google it. I can pull it up. NARC app. Yeah, check it out. It's on Apple and Google Play. Place to be able to track your no contact, record your truth, ask advice, communicate with other people that are going through the same stuff, like-minded survivors that are either stuck or have like been getting out, like all different types of stuff like that. You can go through different courses. You can be able to like one of the recent courses was on boundaries. Another course that just came out just this past month was actually like what 4 days ago actually was healthy dating after abuse. Trying to think, we do like exclusive lives inside the app like every Monday night where people can actually come on screen, kind of like I do on Wednesday nights with like Lee, where we're both on screen, be able to like interact, ask questions, things like that. And then we also do monthly coaching, which is Zoom calls where everybody's brought into like a Zoom call. Everybody who signs up, everybody's brought into a Zoom call. And the monthly coaching, this is like the one thing that's like I think like unique about the NARC app is the monthly coaching is not 100% geared towards narcissism, because like my like goal is like as I help people like grow, heal, and change, the goal is that like you're not stuck in narcissism like for the rest of your life. Like you want to understand it and acknowledge it, which literally is just like drinking from a fire hose. Like I get that. But then like after that, like once you start growing, healing, and changing from it, it's like, okay, how do we start working on healing and growing like the next part? How do we start building like the bridges that you need to cross over to continue like your journey? Like how do we build in good triggers, good habits, like all the stuff that's like taking you to the next level in that aspect. All right, someone asked, here we go. I actually just did a TikTok. Look it up. I just did a video on TikTok. It'll be coming to all the platforms tomorrow. But I just did a video on TikTok where I read through the 9 traits. But I'll be nice and I'll read them for you. Okay. Narcissistic personality disorder. Number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Example, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without those achievements. Number 2, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Number 3, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by, associate with other special or high status people or institutions. Number 4, requires excessive admiration. Number 5, has a sense of entitlement. Example, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Number 6, is interpersonally exploitative. It takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. Number 7, lacks empathy. Is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 9, is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. And number 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. I've got to plug you in real quick. There's the 9 traits. The diagnostic criteria. I'm not diagnosing, I'm just reading them off. That it goes right before a pervasive pattern of grandiosity and fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, lack of empathy, beginning early adulthood, is context as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So basically, if someone has 5 or more of those, okay. Sorry, I wasn't like. Hopefully, you caught all that. I knew that was like fast. I know. I have a video I think on YouTube. I just did one on TikTok that like read them off like really fast as well. Okay. Keyword lacks empathy. Yeah, like that seems a lot of narcissism is known by like being obsessed with themselves, snapping selfies, and having no empathy. The thing you have to understand about the empathy is like, did you hear it when I said it? And it said lacks empathy, but the rest of the sentence lacks empathy says is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. That's where it gets even crazier. When it gets even crazier, when they know and they understand, they actually do connect with that empathy, but they choose to not show it or connect with you. So there's like a part of my relationship that is a part of like, hey, this person is crying because I made him feel bad or whatever it might be. The problem is, if I actually go over and give that person a hug or say like, I'm sorry that they feel that way, in my mind, that means I'm acknowledging that they're right and I'm wrong. That ain't happening. How long can it take for them to drop the mask? 1 week to 10 years. Sometimes it depends on the boundaries you put or don't put. Do you think that bipolar disorder can attribute to narcissism? My wife has been off her meds for over 6 years, and I feel that has heightened her narcissistic tendencies. Possibly heightened her narcissistic tendencies. I had a guy that I worked with for a period of time that like said he was bipolar. Ended up being borderline. Ended up being on like psych meds. Ended up like even getting worse. Like it was crazy. Why is it always a who's right scenario? Because the narcissist has to be right. If it doesn't match their mask, then it's like write a book. Currently, I'm on page 22. Why they fake illnesses? Mine never felt good, and was always sick. Why do they fix illnesses to be able to get that supply? How do narcissists treat pets? I have a consistent answer. I've seen it 50-50. They either love the pets and hate the human, or they abuse the pets just as much. Some days I feel mentally and emotionally exhausted. Some days I feel like I could take the world, and it's crazy. Yeah, it goes back and forth. It gets crazy. I wish I could have understand this before. Yeah. A lot of times we have to remember. A lot of times what you have to remember is you'll beat yourself up that you didn't get this before, that you didn't see this before. You'll look at the back, you'll look at the past, and you'll be like, "Gosh, like I'm so stupid for being with this person," or like, "I can't believe I stayed so long." Okay. What you have to remember is you can't hold yourself accountable. You can't judge yourself. You can't judge your past self based on your present knowledge. A lot of times people will beat themselves up for stuff that they didn't know and didn't understand. Why they try to destroy your character when you call them out on crap they did? Because if you call them out in an accountable way, if I can destroy your character, then your argument no longer stands. That's all it is. If they're trying to destroy your character, you probably called them out on something. They swept me off my feet with love bombing. How can you tell if it's genuine in the beginning? Tell the person no. Yep, check boundaries. How will narcs react if they catch us reading literature on narcissism? They'll probably deny it. They might learn and read up on it themselves so they can use it to abuse you. That's why a lot of times we say don't tell them that they're narcissists. Why won't my narc want to get help? I am planning on leaving as soon as I heal. Sometimes you need to leave to heal. Okay. Just the fact that they don't want therapy shows that they don't care about themselves and they don't care about you. I'm very happy that I went through this. I've learned what I want and don't want. Yeah. X-Narc's traits went wild when he started on ADHD meds. Have you ever seen it before? Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it go both ways. Sometimes get better, sometimes get worse. Oh, there you go. Talk about covert and the discard. I recently dropped last Friday. I recently dropped a couple videos on YouTube that go more in detail about covert narcissism. So check that out. That'd be like the easiest way to kind of like touch on some of that. Can you share how becoming self-aware feels like for a narc? Do you feel better, or is it a struggle every day? It's a struggle every day. There's definitely an aspect of not being aware is easier. Not being aware is a lot easier. Any explanation why you would stand right by me watching as I entertained another guy? I don't know where we're going with that. Mine moved on before he split, and his girlfriend hasn't even met her kid. He's telling me they're moving in. Do they ever feel sad about anything they've done? Any remorse? Are they afraid of anything? So typically not. They typically don't have that remorse, like looking back from the past, because that would invoke that guilt and shame. They don't want to be able to have that, so they normally kind of run from that. It's that disconnect of like, I don't actually care. The past is in the past. Let's not focus. Let's not think about it. When we are in conflict, he would often say, "Your true colors are showing," after antagonizing me. Why? They're trying to put the blame back on you. It's gaslighting and you thinking that you're the toxic one. Why everything we argue has to bring everyone else into the convo. A lot of times that's to try to justify, try to be like, see, like this person's the crazy one. Let me get advice from this person about how awful you are to me. Why they get married soon after divorce? Often because they already have someone lined up, and that's like the next person. But that's also so they don't like be alone. Do you ever need a break from any of this? You actually live it, so you must get tired of it. I mean, it also helps being able to communicate, be able to help people like see like this is what's actually going on, and I guess you could say sometimes it like keeps me in check. The stuff I do on a day-to-day basis is more like keep me in check than like being live or like communicating about it. But I think it does help people to like hear and understand what's actually going on. For me, like I don't get tired. I don't really get tired of like doing like one-on-ones, like for instance. I don't get like emotionally drained from it. So that's one thing that's like a positive part about some of the stuff I deal with. But it's also a lot easier sometimes to kind of like disengage from the emotion side to actually help people like process like their trauma or like what they're actually going through. Narcissist behavior and divorce, oftentimes they'll try to look the best they can to everybody else so that you look like the crazy one. Can supply be drugs and other things and another person. Yeah, absolutely. Or like workaholic hobby. Like supply could be anything that just makes them feel better at times too. Like laptop screen is gonna like die. Will your family believe the truth that they see proof about them or just make excuses? It depends on the family because a lot of times you have families that are enabling already, or you have families that are narcissistic and so they're not really going to care. How did it stop? I stopped scrolling again. Sorry, Instagram. Fifth time I'm asking this. Hope you see it this time. Been separated for 3 months. Haven't had sex in months. I had sex the other day. The day before we had sex, he said he would not talk to you and thinks I am the narcissist. After we had started asking more questions about narcissism and is willing to do a couple sessions with you, is this just him giving me breadcrumbs? My initial response would be probably. The biggest thing is like, what are they willing to do to change themselves, and how are they going to continue to work on their healing, growth, and change? Or how are they gonna come up with like what they're actually planning to do? Like I had a couple sessions I did last week or whatever, and I was like talking to him, and he was like, "Well, I just need to like be better." And I'm like, "Okay, how are you gonna do that?" "Well, I just need to talk like nicer to her." "Okay, well, how are you gonna do that?" "Well, I'm just not gonna say like mean things." And I'm like, okay, like come on, like you're just giving me a bunch of BS. Like until you actually like come up with a plan of how you're gonna heal, grow, and change, how you're gonna work on changing your behaviors, you're just future faking. You're just saying it's gonna happen, but nothing's gonna happen. Like how are you gonna demonstrate this? How are you gonna get off your butt and actually say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check myself into therapy. I'm gonna focus on getting into a support group. I'm gonna like, how are you actually going to apply it? A lot of times, narcissist is all about changing your reality to support their mask. Okay, narcissist wants to be able to support their mask. Their image is what they're obsessed with. They're not obsessed with self-love. They're not obsessed with themselves in the aspect of it being like a proper aspect. They're obsessed with the mask, and they'll do anything to be able to control your reality. Narcissists control your reality in 3 different ways. Narcissists change your past reality by telling you about stuff that happened that didn't actually happen. Confusing you and telling you that you're crazy about what happened in the past. They confuse you about what's happening in the present by changing your reality in the present, saying like, "Hey, this isn't this big of a deal. Let me give you different things. Let me talk to you. Let me spend time with you. Let me give you the things that you've been looking for, so that you don't hold me accountable anymore." And so your reality of in the future of telling you a bunch of things that they're going to change and do, but they won't actually do it. That is, it's gaslighting, love bombing, future faking. It's anything the narcissist can do to change your reality so that it pulls the mask. Do narcs actually love their kids? Typically not. How are they demonstrating love to you? How are they demonstrating love to the kids? Once the narcissist gets divorced, will they run out to get remarried? A lot of times they do. If no way to contact by phone, is there at least a hotline number if someone could throw me? For what? Um, do I just have to deal with this for the rest of my life because we have a daughter together? No, you can go no contact. Just because you have kids doesn't mean you have to communicate with them. Third party communication, third party apps, third party drop offs, whatever you have to do. Chides blames me for not talking. Unless it's about the kids, you don't have to communicate anything at all. If you've gone through any type of like court system, then like focus on upholding those agreements. Or you need to go through the court system. Friendship possible with boundaries, not after a relationship, no. Honestly, if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, been abused by a narcissist, and you think you can get back into a relationship with boundaries, I think you're naive. No, I'm just getting tired because it's late. I've got about like 10 minutes left. Mine can't hold a job for too long. Yeah, a lot of times they can't. If you guys haven't, like, do me a favor. If you're on any of the other social media platforms that we're streaming to right now, like, sometime, like, go on YouTube for me, look up Raw Motivations. That's my channel there. Follow, subscribe, do a little notification so you get like the notifications when we drop. When we drop a new video, they come out every single day. Right now at 11 and at 4, so 11 a.m., 4 p.m. It's like 10 to 12 minute video, like talking about like you want to talk about like education on narcissism, like that's what I'm trying to do on there. You'll hear like stuff out of Psychopath 3, out of the Narcissist in Your Life, after out of like Dr. Romney's books. Like you'll hear like a bunch of his stuff, like trying to help give you guys a good perspective of like even like the data and stuff that's going on, but then also like my perspective and like what I've dealt with as well. For those of you who are curious of like how'd you become aware, go to Raw Motivations on YouTube and look that up and look at self-aware narcissist. Like that's the name of the video. Is relationship rape common with narcissists? I would say that might be common a lot of times with abusers, period. I don't know if I could necessarily say it's common with narcissists, like, putting it like that. If you guys haven't, check out the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Check that out. Any good resources besides Dr. Romney on narcissistic siblings? I think my brother would be low grade. I the narcissist in your life is a really good book that has some good information about narcissistic family systems, and also like kind of like goes through like the golden child family dynamic stuff like that. It's not like specifically geared towards siblings, but I would say in that book it's got a decent bit more on siblings than what some of the other books have. That might give you a little bit. That might help a little bit. Someone on YouTube said Dr. Carter, so check that out. Thanks for answering my email about flying monkeys. Yeah, absolutely. I try to. Sometimes like emails I get behind, I like don't respond for like a week. And I'm like, sorry, trying to. So so speaking of emails, I had someone the other day that went on to, yeah, it was through the website. So they like looked up my stuff, or they were wherever, went onto the website, went on and filled out a whole like submission form or whatever, and the email said like, you're never going to change, you're gaslighting all the people you talk to, and you're a rat that doesn't deserve to exist. I was like, you went out of the way to be able to tell me that? Like, that's crazy. And they went all the way to tell me that. And so I actually like went in and like today, like in a moment, I kind of like went on and I responded, and I just said like a couple like quick things, but I was like, thanks for always like inspiring me to continue to change and grow and heal. And I'm gonna keep doing that on a day-to-day basis with what I do individually and what I do in therapy. And I said like one or two other things like that and sent it. And it like bounced back. I was like, they even like wrote like a wrong email, so I couldn't even like respond to them. Oh. No, we get that every once in a while. It goes in spurts. People like to attack, but it's all good. It happens. Now that honestly, now that YouTube has actually grown, YouTube has gotten a lot more civil. I started out on TikTok. The TikTok community is probably like the closest to my heart. I love working with the people in the TikTok community because like lives and stuff, they've always been super positive. Instagram is kind of like hit or miss sometimes, is majority positive. When I first started out on YouTube, it was like spam city. Gino, what's up? It's good to see you. It was like spam city on YouTube. And like people were like, I was going live and like people were like constantly commenting and like saying like a bunch of stuff. And I would just get like pissed because like they'd be like, Ben is a cheater. And I'm like, no shit. Like I say that in my videos. But like they just like spam it and like say like one letter words, all that kind of stuff. Is kind of crazy. But yeah. But YouTube we're growing. Like YouTube is what is it? YouTube's up to I think like 24,000, which is like awesome. It's super cool to be able to see like the support. Maybe see a psychiatrist because I was crazy for accusing him. Yeah, you know what? I mean, sometimes we hear these stories and you actually like see it of like where the narcissist told you like you're the crazy one, like you need to get in therapy. Oops, I didn't even see it drop. You need to get in therapy, all that kind of stuff. Which is actually like kind of like hilarious sometimes because like they force you to go to therapy. They say you're crazy. You get to therapy, you start realizing, whoa, it's not me, it's them, and then you leave and find your power. Which is really cool. I don't know how to say your username on TikTok. My him, my him. Have we ever talked like 101? You always have like a ton of good questions, but I feel like we don't answer all your questions like every single time. I feel like we should talk sometime if we haven't. And if we have, I'm sorry, I just don't recognize the username with the name. Do you think my daughter's BPD is related to my husband's narcissistic traits? Yes, I would say so. Do you think would a narcissist ask daily about family? My boyfriend asks daily about my kids and my mom. Do they ask about you or just them? I was in therapy twice, and they both said there was nothing wrong. Question: my ex is with his first cousin. Does he understand how that is wrong? He probably doesn't care. They were wearing a mask and said they were lying the entire time. Why did they tell you this? Maybe to gloat? Maybe to test you? So that if I didn't go to therapy, you would leave me. Oh, that's crazy. Like hem on clothes. Remy hem. Remy hem. Have we ever talked like 101? Would love to talk to you. Just I know you always have like a ton of questions. I've been with a narcissist for 8 years. I look back now. How did I fall for this? Yeah. Thing is, like, don't beat yourself up for not seeing it. Don't narc parents teach them not to be abusive and manipulative? I don't understand what that question is. Like, does a toxic person teach the next generation not to be toxic? That's how the question reads in my mind. Let me know if I'm reading that wrong. My husband went to therapy and used all of my traumatic events against him. Is that narcissistic? It could be, yeah. Guilt for ghosting him since trying to communicate. Yeah. I've been through 95% of the scenarios that you and your other content creators have posted. Hopefully you're out and working on your healing, growth, and change and getting free. Hmm. That is weird. I'm not sure about that with the family stuff. It's been 6 years and still I don't reply. But if I block, he calls family, friends, work. I mean, I would block and just let your family and friends and work know. Hey, go ahead and block them. Like keep them out of your life. Is Narcissistic always a show that they're happy with the new supply after 7 months, no contact? Yeah, you're looking at the production. I'm not out yet over 5 years. Let me know or like grab any of the other content creators that do coaching. Love to be able to help like do like an exit strategy, help you get out. You shouldn't have to go through that. If you guys get a chance, come check out Durham, North Carolina, July 23rd at Honeysuckle at Lakewood, 3 to 6 p.m. Myself, Lee Hammock, Bree, Carrie, Lisa, 5 out of the Narc Avengers, 5 out of 16. So basically a third of us that are in this group. You need an exit strategy. If you want, reach out. I would love to be able to talk to you. Get like assessment of where you are. Either I can help you or I can direct you to some of the creators that do as well. Yeah, a third of us in that group are going to be there, so we're super excited. There's people from all over the U.S. that are going to be coming. If you haven't had a chance, download the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Download it, check it out. We got monthly coaching. Big, yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah, it's next week. Next week, yeah. It's hard to believe. It's like less. It is a week because we week Saturday. Today's what, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. Yeah, Kim. A lot of times, check out Kim on YouTube. Check out Mending Me. She's on TikTok under that. I don't know if she's under the platforms of that, but she talks about coercion and like marital rape and stuff like that too. It might be a helpful platform for you to look at. Gotcha, and I hear you. Whew, sorry. We're getting ready to wrap up. I'm getting tired. I'm over him because of you and Lee came back around with their mutual friends. Happy and glowing smear campaign didn't work. That's awesome. Glad to know it didn't work. Can you repeat the info on? What I was saying with the coercion and marital rape was check out Mending Me, or maybe it's mending.me, but it's Mending Me. I know she's on TikTok. That's her main platform. I don't know what other platform she's on, to be honest. She's like a mutual. Always Mending is the name of her YouTube channel. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I don't remember what else she's on everywhere else. If you guys don't follow, so an easy way to be able to find most of us is just when you're on any of these platforms, just type in hashtag Narc Avengers and look up. There's 16 of us total that we're working on trying to actually like work together to help bring awareness and help people out like everywhere. So we go live Monday nights from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. inside the app. Secured live there, so people can ask questions, come on screen, all this kind of stuff. Is it common for a narcissist to have a block when it comes to wife and kids and doesn't know what a marriage should look like to them? No, they know what it looks like because they know what you want. They're just unwilling to give it because that's breadcrumbing and that's leading you on. They're just manipulating you. Then we'll be back on Wednesday night from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook and YouTube with myself and Mental Healness. This week will be on his platform. And then Thursday night, so a week from today, we'll be back on here. I might be back on randomly throughout the week because right now the month of July is actually pretty slow. People on vacation, like all that kind of stuff. So I've had like a little bit more free time, less appointments and things like that. So I might be on like during the day some. We actually did one. If you go to YouTube, you can actually see the replay of one that was a couple days ago. I think it was like 11 to 12. So it was like just an hour long. And I think it was really cool because we're doing it on Facebook and YouTube, but I can drop the link and people can actually come live and ask questions, share a little bit of the story. But we had, I think, like in that hour alone, I think we had like 8 people like jumping in and out. Like it was pretty cool. It actually worked a lot better than what I thought. I was just kind of doing it as like a test because we've been really considering about actually doing like a show sounds wrong way to put it, but like basically like a talk show where basically people like phone in. It's just all like digital, so you just like hop in on the live and then hop out kind of a thing. You liked it? Oh yeah, Vicky was in it for a couple minutes too. I'm glad you liked it because it was a test thing. Ideally, what I'd want to do if I actually like roll it out would be where I'd probably do it 3 times a week at a set time, so people would know, hey, this is gonna happen, and they could actually like phone in. Phone in. That's like an old phrase to be able to put it, but that would be the thought process. Can you break a trauma bond by reminding yourself of everything you've done? I think that's essential and part of the step. Yeah. When, where is this? When and where is what? What did I say this when, where is? How can I be strong to go no contact if he still lives with me? Going no contact is gonna be super hard when they're living with you. Like you're probably gonna have to like move out. But Chris got you right there. Start working on yourself, self acceptance, self love, acknowledging, journaling, writing on the truth of the situation. Go to my bio. I've got resources there. You can do the Trauma Bond course by Lisa Sunny. She also has a book too. That can be a way to start doing that on your own too, or a therapist or a coach. Yeah, but yeah, the show. Yeah, I don't. Oh, okay. Oh, that's what you're going back to. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually like got to the place where I've like decided to do it, and like for me, it's also like figuring out like a consistent time. Probably if I did it, it'd probably be like maybe like 11 to 12, like on Eastern time or something like that in the morning. Ideally, I'd like to do it like early in the morning. Not judging, but have you been drinking? No. I'm getting tired. That's what it is. Been up since 4. And then we get back up in the morning, do it all over again. It's awesome. Anyways, we wrapping up. If y'all want to talk sometime, if you want to reach out, do a one-on-one, deal with the trauma bond, work through different things like that, go to my website, rawmotivations.com. You can click my link in the bio. It's best y'all came in October because Texas is like hell on earth right now. Yeah, it's like super hot. I was saying something about doing like the rolling blackouts and stuff like that. Like that sucks. You think it's a good idea to send your videos to my former friend? As long as you don't care like what happens afterwards, make sure you have boundaries. Raquel, okay, so we got a one-on-one. When did you schedule it? When are we meeting? When are you all coming to Texas? We're coming to Texas in October. We haven't officially announced it. We're actually working. The website's not even up yet. I mean, well, actually it is, but it doesn't work yet. So like it's not good. So don't look at it. But like we actually are working on getting like the Narc Avengers website up and running. But we're coming to Texas, Austin, Texas, October 15th. It's officially the date. I didn't see that yet though. Let me go schedule it. Oh yeah, yeah. If you did it in my bio, like has it where you can like grab it real quick and then you have to go schedule it. No, you're totally fine. You can schedule it whenever. Rumination does it ever stop? Yeah, it does. But it's all about the story you're telling yourself. So you actually rewire the story, you're stuck. All right, y'all have a good night. We're starting to wrap up here. Finally signed after 2 years, good sign. Hopefully. Hopefully. I was still like block, go no contact. How you break a trauma bond on YouTube? You can kind of look up. You can look up trauma bond. You can grab a one-on-one with me, and we can kind of talk through it. because I walk people through a specific system that I teach and then have you implement it so that you start doing it as well. Something that helps you on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, like work through that. But first step is like journaling, like acknowledging like the truth. What do I do for a living? I do this. So I'm Raw Motivations full-time as of April. How did I break a trauma bond? The narcissist typically doesn't have a trauma bond. I feel like I had a piece of it of being with a girl who had BPD. But as far as like a narcissist having a trauma bond with a regular person, normal person, I don't think it happens. Raquel, did you get it off of like my link or did you go to my website? If you went to my website, then I would have had you like schedule the date and time. If you got it off of like the link in the bio, then check your email. Y'all have a good night. Raquel, if you have any issues, message me. If you can, message me on Instagram. That's the one I normally respond to. Do you find that doing this full time helps hold yourself accountable? Slightly. It's not necessarily like a great like accountability program, I guess you could say. What keeps me accountable more than that is my warrior stuff that I do every single day, and also therapy. Link in bio. Yeah. So if you have any issues, just shoot me an email or message me, Ben at Raw Motivations, but it should be in your inbox. Y'all have a great night. We're gonna go ahead and shut down YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.